Have you ever noticed? The more you chase something, the faster it seems to run away? It's like life is playing a strange game with us. The tighter we hold on, the more things slip away. But when we finally let go, something incredible happens. Life doesn't fall apart. It starts to fall into place. Not with chaos, but with clarity. Not with absence, but with alignment. This episode is about that mystery. The quiet power of surrender. Not giving up, but giving in. Giving in to the rhythm of life. To the intelligence that guides the world. Even when we can't understand it. So let me ask you. What happens when we stop trying to control everything? What unfolds when we start trusting the process? When we let go of the need to grip so tightly and simply allow life to unfold? Maybe, just maybe, everything we've been chasing is already trying to find us. But we keep getting in the way. We all reach a moment like that. In our work, in our relationships, in our dreams. We hustle. We plan. We give it everything. And yet, nothing moves. So what do? We try harder. We tighten our grip. We believe that more control will get more results. But what if the effort itself is what's holding us back? What if chasing too much is the very thing pushing it all away? It sounds strange, but it's real. The more we force, the more life resists. And the more we resist, the more frustrated we become. Until one day, we're tired. We've run out of strategies. We surrender. Not out of wisdom, but out of exhaustion. And in that quiet surrender, life moves. Not because we forced it, but because we finally stopped. Now hear this. Surrender is not weakness. It's not giving up on your dreams. It's letting go of the obsession to control how and when they happen. Picture a clenched fist. It's strong, but it can't receive. Now picture that same hand, open, relaxed. It's ready to hold. That's surrender. You're not abandoning your path. You're trusting it. You're no longer micromanaging the universe. Let me tell you a story. Sarah was an artist. She worked non-stop. Promoting, networking, creating. But her art felt forced. Her joy disappeared. Eventually, she burned out. She stopped chasing success and started creating again, just for the joy of it. No plan. No pressure. Just expression. That's when everything changed. A gallery owner saw her work, felt its honesty, and gave her a solo show. The doors opened. Not because she tried harder, but because she stopped resisting. That's the lesson. Wanting is not wrong. Desire is human. But when desire becomes control, we lose our flow. Surrender is quiet, but powerful. It's planting the seed, watering it, giving it light, and then trusting. Not digging it up every day to check. So ask yourself, where are you holding on too tight? What dream are you squeezing so hard it can't breathe? Maybe it's time to release. Not the dream, But the pressure, the timeline, the obsession, let it go. Because sometimes, the thing that's holding you back isn't the world. It's you. And the freedom you're looking for? It begins with an open hand. Earlier, we explored the magic of letting go. But what stops us from surrendering, even when we know it might help? It's one quiet force. Invisible, yet powerful. Resistance. It shows up at the worst possible time. Right when you're about to do something meaningful. It whispers doubts. It feeds fear. It convinces you that safety is better than progress. And most of the time, we don't even realize it's there. We just feel stuck, unmotivated, or worse, we sabotage ourselves and call it logic. But resistance? It wears many masks. Sometimes, it looks like procrastination. Other times, it sounds like your inner critic. The one that says, "You're not ready. Your dream is unrealistic. Who do you think you are?" It can even feel like exhaustion. The moment you sit down to do the one thing that truly matters, you suddenly feel too tired, too distracted. Or, resistance might dress up as productivity. You clean the house. You answer emails. You do everything. Except the one thing that really matters to your soul. That's resistance. Hiding in plain sight. Pretending to protect you. When in reality, it's keeping you small. But here's the truth. Resistance only shows up when something meaningful is trying to emerge. It's not a sign of failure. It's a sign you're close. Close to something real. Like bumping into a wall in the dark. It means you're standing at the edge of change. So instead of backing off, ask yourself, what am I really afraid of? Because almost always, resistance grows from fear. Fear of rejection. Fear of failure. Fear of being seen. It's the part of you that wants to grow, clashing with the part of you that wants to stay safe. That inner friction? It's not wrong. It's human. It means you're alive. It means something important is happening. Take Adam, for example. He's a writer. Talented. Clear vision. Plenty of time. But every time he sat down to write, anxiety took over. What if it's bad? What if no one reads it? What if I fail? So instead of writing, he organized his bookshelf, reread old drafts, stayed busy, but far from the page. That's resistance. But everything changed when Adam finally acknowledged that fear. Not as weakness, but as part of the process. He didn't try to fight it. He didn't wait for it to disappear. He moved with it. That's surrender. Not overpowering resistance, but recognizing it and choosing to move anyway. Kindness helps. So does curiosity. Instead of saying, "I'm lazy, I'm unmotivated," try asking, what is this resistance trying to protect me from? Maybe you believe success will make people jealous. Maybe you fear failure means you're not enough. Or maybe Trying your best and still falling short would hurt more than not trying at all. These beliefs are heavy, but they're not permanent. Shine a light on them, and they start to dissolve. Here's a practice. Write a letter from your resistance. Let it speak. Let it say what it's afraid of. Then write back. Not to argue, but to reassure. Say, I hear you, but I'm not here to stay stuck. Because staying stuck, yes, it feels safe, but it's also suffocating. You weren't born for safety. You were born to grow, to express, to create. And that means dancing with resistance, not letting it lead. Feeling overwhelmed? Shrink the scale. Don't write a book. Just write a sentence. Don't launch a business. Just sketch an idea. Don't transform your life today. Just take one honest step. Resistance feeds on overwhelm, but presence dissolves it. You're not broken for feeling resistance. You're human. Everyone you admire, everyone who's done something great, they've felt it too. The difference is, they moved anyway. They didn't wait for fear to leave. They walked through it. Because beyond that fear is freedom. So don't ask how to eliminate resistance. Ask what truth is rising beneath it. And then, with compassion, take one step anyway. That step is your power. Not forcefully, but through quiet courage. Through presence. But resistance doesn't leave quietly. It leaves behind a silence. Not peace, but uncertainty. You might wonder, is this worth it? Should I stop? Am I making a mistake? And in that space, we reach for control. We try to predict every outcome. We want guarantees. We want certainty. But life doesn't offer guarantees. It never did. And maybe it's not supposed to. Because something deeper is guiding all this. Call it life. Call it the universe. Call it divine timing. Whatever name you give it. It knows more than we do. Plans are useful. Effort matters. But control? It's not everything. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is trust. Not with your mind, but with your whole being. And that's where surrender begins. Last time, we explored the power of trusting something greater than ourselves. Now, let's talk about what that trust really asks of us. It asks us to walk even when we can't see the whole path. To take the next step, even when it's covered in fog. That's hard. Because the mind wants a plan. It craves clarity. It wants certainty. But maybe the heart doesn't need certainty. Maybe it just needs connection. Think of Maya. She spent years searching for her purpose. She read all the books. She tried different jobs. Made detailed 5-year plans. But still, nothing felt right. Until one day, she stopped searching and started listening. Not to experts. Not to trends. But to herself. She began to notice what moved her. What lit her up. It wasn't loud. It wasn't flashy. But it was real. She followed that quiet voice. One small decision at a time. And a year later, she was doing work that felt alive. Unexpected, but aligned. Not because she forced it, but because she trusted the unfolding. That is what it looks like to trust life. It's not about waiting around for perfect signs. It's about staying open, attuned to subtle nudges, willing to act, even when the outcome isn't guaranteed. Just because life isn't going according to plan, doesn't mean it's going wrong. Sometimes, not getting what you want clears the path for what you need. But to see that, you have to let go of timing. Stop measuring your life against someone else's clock. The universe doesn't work on deadlines. It works on alignment. And when the time is right, when you are ready, often in ways you don't even realize, things begin to move fast. Not because you chased harder, but because you became who you needed to be for those things to arrive. Of course, this doesn't mean you sit back and do nothing. Trust is not passivity. It's presence. You still take action. You still show up. But you do it with openness, not desperation. Like a dancer flowing with the rhythm. Not someone dragging the music behind them. There's freedom in that. There's peace. Because life isn't against you. It's not testing you. It's shaping you. The doors that don't open, they're redirections, not rejections. The delays, they're preparing you for something deeper. But you only start to see that when you stop forcing and start listening. Ask yourself, where in your life are you pushing too hard? Where have you mistaken struggle for progress? Can you trust, consciously, not blindly, that what's meant for you is already on its way? Because when you release the grip, when you stop trying to control the timeline, a shift begins. Not just in what you attract, but in how you feel. More grounded, more peaceful, more present. That's the quiet magic of trust. It doesn't make life perfect. It makes it real. And in a world that constantly demands more, that's more than enough. We've been taught that effort is everything. Push harder. Do more. Force the outcome. But maybe the answer isn't more force. Maybe it's more space. Not more striving, more allowing. There's a powerful difference between action from fear and action from alignment. When you act from fear, you rush. You control. You measure your worth by outcomes. You seek constant proof from the future to validate the present. But when you act from alignment, there's calm. There's clarity. You're not chasing. You're responding. Allowing means you stop forcing. You recognize, not everything needs fixing. Not every moment needs your intervention. Some things need time. Some answers come only after silence. Some growth happens only in stillness. But that's hard. Because we've been praised for taking charge. for always doing, always solving. So stepping back, it can feel lazy, irresponsible. But allowing takes strength. It takes discipline. It takes trust. To allow is to hold space without panic. To wait with wisdom. To act from awareness, not pressure. You're not ignoring life. You're meeting it with presence. And that presence, it's powerful. It doesn't demand attention. It radiates quiet confidence. It doesn't seek approval. It simply is. And often, the answers we seek come when we stop chasing and start listening. Just look at nature. A seed doesn't become a tree overnight. It needs time, soil, stillness, sunlight. If you rush it, you damage it. But when you trust the process, it grows. The same is true for your dreams, your healing, your relationships. They don't need more pressure. They need the right space. So maybe the real question isn't, what more can I do? Maybe it's, what can I let go of? Can you release the need to know it all now? Can you stop trying to fix what isn't broken? Can you trust that clarity comes through peace, not panic? Because in the space of allowing, something beautiful begins. When we stop forcing, when we stop trying to control every detail, something begins to shift. We stop moving against life and start moving with it. We begin to hear our own rhythm instead of the constant noise around us. And from that space, things start to align in ways we never expected. Not because we pushed harder, but because we stepped aside. We got out of our own way. So take a breath. Soften the urgency. Let yourself land, right here. You don't have to force what's meant to flow. You don't have to chase what's already finding its way to you. Allow it. Trust it. And respond, not from panic, but from presence. What's meant for you doesn't need pressure. It needs space. But here's the thing. We often carry invisible weights. Silent burdens, called expectations. We carry them everywhere. Expectations of who we should be. How fast we should succeed. What success should look like. And these expectations? They distort reality. They twist our thinking. And leave us disappointed. Not because life failed us, but because it didn't match the story in our head. And that story? It's rarely based in truth. It's built on fear, on comparison, on the illusion of control. We don't just want things. We want them our way, on our timeline, with specific outcomes. And when that doesn't happen, we feel betrayed. But here's the truth. Expectations create tension. And tension blocks flow. It's not the wanting that hurts. Desire is natural. Vision is beautiful. But when desire turns into rigid expectation, we suffer. We narrow our view so tightly that we miss everything life is trying to offer outside that frame. We lose the gift of surprise, the beauty of mystery, the joy of simply not knowing. There's a quiet freedom in letting go of expectations. Not because you don't care, but because you care enough to let things unfold in their own way. You show up fully. You give your best. And then, you release. That's not giving up. That's growing up. Think about it. How many times has expectation added unnecessary pain? You expected someone to understand. And they didn't. You thought you'd feel fulfilled after a big win. But you didn't. You believed a goal would change everything. But when you got there, nothing felt different. The pain didn't come from what happened. It came from what you expected. That's the hidden cost. Expectations tie your peace to things you can't control. They make your happiness conditional. And when reality doesn't match your script, you suffer. Not because you're broken, but because your peace was never meant to be pinned to an outcome. So what's the alternative? It's not indifference. It's presence. It's the decision to show up each day with an open heart, to care deeply, to dream boldly, but without letting expectations dictate your worth. You can still have vision, still have drive, still work hard. Just hold your dreams lightly. Let them breathe. Leave room for life to surprise you. Because often, the best things in life are the ones we never saw coming. But we only notice them when we're not blinded by what we thought should happen. So pause. Ask yourself, what expectations are you holding that no longer serve you? What timeline have you built that's causing you more pain than progress? And what might happen if you let that story go? Not to give up, but to come back to what's real. And when you do, you'll feel it. A lightness, a quiet calm, a sense of space inside the uncertainty. And in that space, something powerful begins to move. Not out there, but in you. A freedom, a clarity, a grounded confidence that whispers, no matter what happens, I can meet it with presence. Not pressure, not panic, but with open hands and an open heart. Because that, more than any outcome, is where true peace lives. Stillness isn't laziness. Silence isn't emptiness. In fact, it's often in the quiet that the deepest shifts begin. But we rarely allow for stillness. We treat it like a waste of time, like a pause between the real parts of life. But the truth is, stillness is where we meet ourselves. It's where we hear what we've been too busy to notice. It's where we remember who we are. Meditation, at its core, isn't about escaping life. It's about returning to it. Not through thought, but through presence. A return to the breath, to this moment, to what's happening right now. Without judgment, without resistance. We carry tension in our minds, in our bodies, in our days, without even realizing it. Meditation slows us down, just enough to see it. And when we see it, we can release it. You don't need to be a monk. You don't need a mountain or hours of silence. Just a few quiet minutes, a few conscious breaths, can shift your entire day. Sit still. Close your eyes. Feel the air enter your body. And leave. Don't control it. Just notice it. When thoughts come, and they will, let them pass. Like clouds in the sky. This isn't about stopping thought. It's about no longer chasing it. And slowly, you'll discover a deeper stillness. One that isn't empty, but full. Full of life. Full of presence. Full of you. When you begin to slow down. When you start noticing the stillness beneath the noise. Surrender no longer feels like effort. It becomes natural. Because you're no longer stuck in what should be. You're present with what is. Meditation isn't the only path to this presence. But it's one of the most direct. It trains your mind to loosen its grip. It teaches your nervous system to soften. It gives your heart the space to feel again. To feel, without judgment. Without needing to fix anything. And from that calm space, new insights arise. Not from struggle, but from stillness. Not from pressure, but from connection. The world is loud. Our minds, even louder. But within you, there is always a quieter place. A space untouched by the noise. A space of peace. Of clarity. Of knowing. And when you return to that space, even briefly, something shifts. You stop reacting to life. You start responding. You stop needing to control everything. You begin to trust that not everything needs fixing. This is the foundation of true surrender. Not just a belief, but a practice. A grounded, daily return to yourself. Not the self filled with goals and expectations, but the self that simply observes, breathes, and allows. So ask yourself, can you give yourself just 5 minutes today? 5 quiet minutes. Not to solve anything. Not to achieve anything. But simply to be here. Fully. Because the more often you return to that space, the more natural surrender becomes. Not as an idea, but as a way of living. And when surrender becomes a habit, life no longer feels like something you must constantly manage. It becomes something you're in conversation with. Something you dance with. Something you trust. One breath at a time. We often associate control with strength. The tighter we grip, the more powerful we feel. We micromanage schedules. We obsess over details. We cling to routines like lifelines. But most of our desire for control doesn't come from confidence. It comes from fear. Fear of the unknown. Fear of loss. Fear of not being ready. And ironically, the more we try to control life, the more disconnected we feel from its rhythm. We grip tighter, and things slip faster. Control gives the illusion of safety, but rarely does it bring peace. Instead, it creates tension, anxiety, the constant burden of holding everything together. And when life doesn't go as planned, we collapse. We doubt ourselves. We wonder if we've failed. But have we actually failed? Or did we simply believe that we were ever fully in control? Surrender asks us to question that belief. It invites us to discover what real power looks like. Not the power to force, but the power to flow. Not the power to dominate, but the power to adapt. True power doesn't shout. It doesn't need to prove itself. It listens. It responds. It trusts. This shift is radical, because many of us were raised to believe that if we don't control everything, everything will fall apart. But life isn't a machine. It's a process. And processes don't respond well to force. They respond to presence, to awareness, to trust. Surrendering control doesn't mean giving up responsibility. It means shifting your focus from forcing outcomes to choosing how you respond to them. It's not about saying, "I must make this happen." It's about saying, "I will meet whatever happens with clarity." And that shift, it changes everything. Your stress, your sense of peace, even how you define success. You stop blaming yourself for every obstacle. You stop viewing every delay as failure. You begin to see each moment as an invitation to listen, to adjust, to grow. Control is rigid. Surrender is responsive. And responsiveness, that's what life asks of us. This doesn't mean we stop setting goals. It means we stop defining ourselves by them. You are not your outcomes. You are not your productivity. You are not your ability to control every detail. You are the awareness behind it all. The one who can choose again. Who can adjust? Who can keep going without the weight of perfectionism? So pause. Notice where control is gripping your life. Where has effort turned into tension? Where have routines become cages? Can you soften? Even just a little? Can you trust that not everything needs to be held so tightly? Because in that softening, you don't lose power. You gain freedom. Freedom to adapt, to pivot, to move with life, instead of constantly fighting it. That's real strength. The kind that bends without breaking. The kind that listens before it speaks. The kind that knows, I'm not here to conquer life. I'm here to collaborate with it. And in that collaboration, control fades. But something deeper takes its place. Wisdom, trust, and quiet confidence. Confidence that whatever comes, you'll meet it. And here's the paradox. The moment you stop needing something is often the moment it begins to show up. Not because life is playing games, but because surrender shifts your energy from lack to presence, from grasping to receiving. And in that shift, you make space for life to respond. In the stillness of surrender, when the need to control finally softens, something starts to shift. You let go of the outcome. You stop clinging. And suddenly, life begins to move. Opportunities arrive. People appear. Clarity takes shape. It doesn't always happen overnight. but the pattern is real. Surrender invites alignment. Not because you gave up, but because you gave in. To the rhythm. To the timing. To trust. But to truly understand this, we have to go deeper. We have to ask, why do we want what we want so badly? Is it truly inspiration? Or is it something else? Often, we chase not because we're full, but because we feel incomplete. We think, when I get this thing, I'll be enough. When that happens, I'll finally feel safe. And that belief, it creates pressure. It whispers, until this happens, I can't relax. I can't rest. I can't be okay. Surrender breaks that loop. It says, yes, you can want something. Yes, you can move toward it. But you can also be whole, right now. You can pursue something from peace, not panic. You can desire, without desperation. And in that separation, that space between yearning and attachment, you find freedom. This doesn't mean abandoning your goals. It means they no longer own you. You still show up. You still give your best. But you stop gripping the outcome like your life depends on it. Because it doesn't. You stop tying your worth to whether or not it all goes right. You begin to understand. How you live matters more than what you achieve. And here's the paradox. Letting go often brings more. Not by chance, but by design. Force creates resistance. Openness creates flow. When you loosen your grip, you return to the present. And from that place, you choose more wisely. You see more clearly. You act with more precision. And far less noise. Think about how differently you move. When you're grounded. When you're calm. When you don't need things to go your way. To feel okay. That energy, it's magnetic. You stop pushing. You start attracting. Even when things don't go as planned. You don't collapse. You don't spiral. Because you're not clinging to an outcome. You're rooted in truth. In growth. In showing up with integrity. No matter what the world throws back. That's the quiet power of surrender. It gives you your life back. Not as a prize, but as a natural result of being here. Fully. Now. So ask yourself, what are you holding so tightly that it's causing more tension than movement? What are you chasing so hard that you're afraid to rest? What would it feel like to want something deeply without needing it to define you? That shift changes everything. It doesn't kill your passion. It doesn't dull your ambition. It grounds it. It reminds you, you're already enough. Life isn't a mountain to conquer. It's a current to align with. And when you move from that space, free, present, at peace, what you truly need often finds its way to you. Not because you demanded it, but because you were finally ready to receive it. Nowhere is this more obvious than in our relationships. Our closest bonds often become mirrors, reflecting back our desire to control. We want people to respond how we would, to love us in our language, to meet our needs, without us having to ask. And when they don't, we manage. We correct. We try to reshape them. Not out of cruelty, but out of fear. Fear of rejection. Fear of being misunderstood. Fear of losing connection. But surrender teaches us something different. Love is not control. It's not shaping someone to fit your mold. It's not needing them to always agree. It's allowing them to be fully themselves. Even when it challenges you. Even when it stirs up your own insecurity. Surrender in relationships doesn't mean staying silent. And it doesn't mean avoidance. It means letting go of the illusion that closeness requires control. Because real connection thrives on freedom, not pressure. The more you try to control someone's behavior, the more distance you create. The more you try to script emotional safety, the more unsafe things begin to feel. People need space to be real, to evolve, to breathe. That space only exists when we surrender our story about who they should be. Now let's be clear. Surrender is not the same as tolerating dysfunction. It's not about staying silent in the face of harm. It's not about accepting less than what's healthy. It's about learning the difference between expressing your needs and controlling the outcome, between accountability and trying to rewrite someone's personality, between loving someone for who they are and resenting them for not becoming your fantasy. There's a strange beauty in letting go of the script we wrote for others and choosing instead to meet them as they are today, not who we hope they'll become. That doesn't mean we stop caring. It means we start listening more. We soften. We become less reactive. And in that softening, something deeper emerges. Understanding. Communication opens. Conflicts become clearer. We stop trying to win. And we start trying to connect. And that connection, born from surrender, often becomes more fulfilling than anything we could have forced. Because now, it's real. Not performance. Not condition. Just presence. You show up. They show up. Not perfectly, but honestly. And sometimes, that's more than enough. We talked about surrendering control in our closest relationships. Now, let's turn inward to the only moment where real life happens. Right here, right now. So pause. Take a breath. And ask yourself, where, in your relationships, are you holding too tightly? Where are you trying to shape the story out of fear? What would shift if you let go? Not of the person, but of the pressure? The answer might feel uncomfortable at first, but discomfort often leads to freedom. The freedom to feel what's real. The freedom to relate without armor. The freedom to love without clinging. And when two people meet in that space, something sacred unfolds. Not because they control each other, but because they choose moment by moment, to honor each other as they are. That is the quiet strength of surrendered love. It doesn't seek to possess. It seeks to understand. And in understanding, it finds something deeper. A connection built not on power, but on presence. But here's the thing. We often forget the present. We overlook it. We're reaching for what's next. Regretting what's past. Worrying about what could go wrong. All the while, we miss where life is actually happening. Here. Now. And yet, this is the only moment where anything real can ever unfold. The only place where joy is felt. Where healing begins. Where clarity appears. Where love becomes real. But to live in the present requires something most of us resist. Surrendering our constant escape from it. We escape in subtle ways. In planning. In overthinking. In distractions. In replaying conversations. In obsessing over outcomes. Our minds rush forward, convinced that the next moment will be more valuable than this one. But the next moment? It's just another now. And if we don't know how to be present in this one, we'll miss all the others too. Surrendering to now doesn't mean giving up dreams. It doesn't mean you stop preparing for the future. It means you stop resisting what already is. You meet life as it is, instead of fighting it with expectations and judgment. It means you allow this moment to be enough. Not perfect. Not easy. But enough. There's quiet power in that shift. When you drop into the present, something inside you softens. The mental noise, it quiets. You breathe deeper. You feel clearer. And you begin to realize most of your suffering didn't come from the moment itself. It came from resisting it. This now is where your strength lives. It's where your clarity lives. Where your groundedness begins. When you're fully here, you make wiser choices. You speak more honestly. You create more authentically. You're no longer pulled in 100 directions by what-ifs and should-haves. You're grounded. And in that groundedness, life feels less chaotic. Because you've stopped scattering your energy across imaginary timelines. You've returned to your center. Now, that doesn't mean the present is always peaceful. Sometimes it's painful. Sometimes it's messy. Sometimes it's uncertain. But even then, there's something steady underneath it. A stillness. A presence. And the more you learn to return to that space, the more resilient you become. Because peace doesn't come from having a perfect life. It comes from being fully alive in the life you have. And that starts by letting go of the habit of postponing presence. By no longer saying, I'll feel okay when. And instead saying, I choose to be here now. Because now is where everything happens. Every shift. Every breakthrough. Every real moment of courage or connection. It all begins here. And when you surrender to it, Not because it's flawless, but because it's real. You begin to move through life with more grace, more clarity, more power than you ever imagined. So ask yourself, where are you right now? Not physically, but mentally, emotionally, energetically? Are you here? Or are you lost in a future you can't control? Or a past you can't change? If you're not here, come back. Come back to the breath, to the air in your lungs, to the beating in your chest, to the ground beneath your feet. Come back to what's real. Because this moment, exactly as it is not something to rush through. It's something to live. And when you live it fully, you discover something powerful. Surrender isn't just about letting go of control. It's about coming home. Coming home to yourself. To this breath. To this now. So much of what we chase, peace, clarity, connection, it's already here. But we miss it. Not because it's far away, but because we're moving too fast. Holding too tightly. Trying too hard. To force life into shapes it was never meant to take. And somewhere in all that effort, we forget. Surrender isn't about giving up. It's about tuning in. It's about choosing to meet life where it is, not where we wish it was. It's about trusting that we don't have to carry it all alone. That control is not the key to freedom. Presence is. Because forcing might bring quick results. But only surrender brings lasting alignment. The kind of alignment that doesn't just change your experience. It changes you. So maybe the real question isn't, what do I need to make happen? Maybe it's, what am I being asked to let go of? What belief no longer serves you? What expectation is stealing your peace? What grip is holding joy at a distance? And what might happen if, for once, you softened? If you slowed down? If you let life meet you where you are? This isn't just a philosophy. It's a practice. A path. A way of showing up in the world. Honest. Grounded. Brave. Because it takes courage to stop pushing. It takes strength to be still. And it takes trust to believe that what's meant for you will never need to be forced. So as you go forward, carry this truth. Surrender is not the end of effort. It is the beginning of true power. The kind of power that moves with life, not against it. That doesn't demand, but invites. Doesn't panic, but trusts. Start there. Start now. One breath at a time. One moment at a time. Surrender. Not because you're weak, but because you're finally ready to live from your deepest strength. And if this message speaks to you, share it. Reflect on it. Revisit it whenever you forget. Because surrender isn't something we master once. It's something we remember. Again, and again. Every time life whispers, let go. If this message resonated with you, don't let it stop here. Take a moment to reflect. To share it with someone who might need this reminder too. And if you want more content like this, more space to breathe, reflect, and realign, hit that subscribe button. Join this growing community of mindful seekers. We're walking this path together. Leave a comment below. Let me know what part of this video touched you most. Your story might be the light someone else is looking for. And remember, surrender isn't weakness. It's wisdom. It's strength. It's the quiet revolution that starts within. See you in the next video. Until then, breathe, trust, let go.